Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name is David Edgar, and as always, I am your host, and I'm joined this bank holiday Monday by Adam Thornton. Hello, Adam.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Having a nice weekend, which is in no small part due to results in the Scottish Premier Football League, but they went pretty well for us over the weekend, and things are actually looking set for an exciting conclusion to this season. Should we put it that way?
Yeah, it is. I think I've been saying for a while it's going to be topsy-turvy, and I think it's definitely proven that way. It's going to be a very tense last 6 games for sure.
Yeah, well, the tension even in the last 2 matches against Aberdeen and Dundee United at home has been evident. But the team has got the results and has started scoring goals as well. Now, Adam, a few weeks ago on your show, The Rangers Prism, which is available on Heart and Hand, but also available, folks, on YouTube. If you go every Friday at 5 p.m, Adam and Martin discuss things. And you said, well, look, obviously, you can't predict the future. If we could, frankly, it would be right there in the show description. But we can look at things like data to see what it's telling us. And you said, look, I'm reasonably relaxed because Rangers are making the most chances, conceding the fewest. And generally speaking, if that pattern holds, they'll get the most points. And so far, you've been reasonably proven right, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I don't want to get too smug about it because, as usual, when you say things like that, people will say, but you said we were going to win a league. And I said, no, I said Rangers are scoring the most goals, we're creating the most chances. At that point, we were conceding the least amount. Looking at the form tables, as we've been trying to do over the last 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, now 30 games, Rangers are top. Rangers get the most points. How you take that information and what you do with it is not for me to decide. All I can say is what has happened and what is happening. And yeah, for me, I thought it was fairly obvious that Hearts were rocking and were pulling wins out of the fire. It is always amusing to me that Hearts win 1-0 and Rangers fans say, what great character, great determination. Rangers win 1-0 and Rangers fans say, oh God, this can't continue. This is a disaster. The irony of that is not lost on me. But yeah, I think it seemed that way. Hearts have been overperforming their numbers. And I don't really even just mean expected goals and anything deeper than that. I mean, chances created, goals scored, all that sort of stuff, basic stuff that commentators use. That they have been underperforming those. Rangers have been steadily trending upwards in that since the Parkhead game. We're now scoring a lot of goals per game, creating a lot of chances. And I think a big part of that has been the formation switch and some of the January signings. So yeah, I think it's trending upwards, which is all you can really ask. Will it be enough? Will that trend stop before the end of the season? Who knows? Like you said, we can't tell the future.
Yeah, exactly. Because just because you've been doing it doesn't necessarily mean that you are automatically going to go and do it. I think it's the desire that we have as football fans. You're a more stats-based guy. You like all that kind of stuff. I'm more of your traditional football fan, so this is probably more applying to me and people like it. But or people like me rather. It's more to do with the desire we have to extrapolate things into the future and make them, somehow. So, right, that's them out of it, or it's between us, or it's between them two, or they're definitely the favourites. They're in the box seat was a comment I saw at the weekend. And to be honest, my view on it is this: look, all 3 teams have it in their own hands.
Yep.
All 3 teams have real strengths and have got good things in the run-in. And all 3 teams have got challenges during that run-in where there will be certain fixtures that are difficult. So every team has, as I say, things that you can make a case for them. Every team has something you can make a case against them. And the reality is that we're trying to add certainty to a fluid situation with lots of variables, and lots of variables at this time that we haven't even seen yet. So it is impossible, although, as I say, it's also inevitable. We can't help do it. And I think that's what you see when people are as I say, try to make definitive statements about something that you can't make a definitive statement about.
You can't, and we haven't really been in this situation in terms of there being potentially going down to the wire since 2011, but we've never been in a situation where there's a third team, and up until about a fortnight ago, there was potentially a fourth team kicking about. Now, Motherwell have dropped off a bit, but I would be very surprised if they don't still have a bit of a say in things, because they are a decent team. They can certainly hold teams to a draw, for example. Hibs as well have been performing above Hearts in some respects this season. To play well. So, in this season of all seasons, I think points, we've seen that points are literally dropped in every single game week except one in January. Whether that continues to the end of the season, I don't know. But again, it's more likely it would than it wouldn't, given that we've had 32 weeks of evidence so far. So yeah, I think it's all set up. It's going to be fascinating, and it's all eyes on the weekend first of all, but certainly on the split fixtures to see how that will land, because a couple of tough games in a row there, for example, could see a team right out of it. So that's going to be interesting to see how that lands.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that Adam there mentions, folks, that literally once this season have all three of the top sides all won. Right, literally once, which is staggering. In 32 games, at least one of them has dropped points over a weekend. So that shows you the unpredictability. But all Rangers can do, a great believer in this, is focus on what's in front of them at the weekend. It was Dundee United. A decent side when I've seen them this season, but obviously, Adam, the results show that they are an inconsistent side. Because I think there's certainly ability in the side, and I think that they've had some good results. There's a few players in the team that I've been impressed with. Fatu and their goal scorers at the weekend, actually, Fatu and Sapsford. I think very, very decent players. And in fair play to them, by the way, they came to play at Ibrox. I think that was clear. They came to, and they'd had 2 draws against us, so you can't really blame them for doing that. When it took 2 late goals from Rangers to actually gain a point in those matches. And they came and they had a go. And right from the start, they had an opportunity early on. Rangers then went up the park and had an opportunity through Ryan Nadiri, and you thought, well, this is going to be an open game. The first half didn't really transpire like that, though. After that, it got a bit cagier until it was opened up by Tello Asgard, who, terrific bit of skill in the edge of the box, hits a shot. As you know, Martin and I have this disagreement all the time, that he gets annoyed because he thinks that everybody always says keeper should have done better for every single goal. But in this instance, I did think the keeper should have done better. I'm glad he didn't, but he'd made a telly save earlier from an Asgard free kick where he did the full flying leap and punch, whereas I thought he could take a step to the side and, catch that. But
it was a bit flaky, I would say, yeah.
I thought there was a bit of that, a bit of the over dramatic, and the second one kind of the same. But it's great play by Asgard, who we'll talk about. But the thing that I loved about this goal was Ryan Nadiri, who I felt had his best game for us, and that's not because I think he's been poor. I don't. I think he does an enormous amount of work, but it was the being there, the following in. That's good striking play, and you can obviously teach things and improve things. But there is also a bit of instinct, I think, in forward players for being there, for anticipating. And look, sometimes anyone who's played football at any level will know that you don't always know why you do something. It's instinct. That's what it is. You're actually doing stuff slightly ahead of your brain. He's in the right place at the right time, just in case. You never know. The likelihood is the keeper's going to tip it over or catch it, but he doesn't, and he's there to finish. And great, it looks like a tap in, but there's a bit that goes into that tap in, is what I'm saying.
Oh, definitely. I think nobody else, maybe Majowski, nobody else is gambling when that shot is taken, because it is. Maybe this is part of the goalkeeper thing. It is a bit of a speculative shot. I think 2 seconds later, you're not expecting Asgard to beat 2 men and try and score from there. You're thinking it's going to go side to side, given the defenders that are there, maybe the type of player that Asgard has been this season. He's been a little bit more cautious than we would like. So maybe that catches the keeper by surprise. But you see Nadiri, as soon as the ball leaves Asgard's feet, he's past 2 or 3 men to get there first to gamble on it. I like that. That's proper centre forward mentality. I think that's great. Just to do anything you can just to get that little half chance. I think that was really, really well done. And yeah, I think, of course, so it's this whole thing about positions versus profiles, and people don't even really care about that. They just think if you're a £5 million player and you play for Rangers, you should be a £5 million striker. You should be scoring 25, 30 goals a season. Until you win the league, and then those sort of things just get kind of forgotten about because you've won the league, and we don't bother too much about individual players' contributions. But until that time, everybody gets scrutinised to within an inch of their life in this season. Nadiri is contributing really well for me. I like his pressing ability. I like his hunger. I like his tenacity. His link-up play. Thought he did really well for the assist to the goal against Aberdeen as well. We'll come on to talk about another goal that he has a really good hand in shortly afterwards. So yeah, I think he had a good day yesterday, or good first half, and let's hope his injury isn't too serious.
There was a moment in the first half that I actually thought was fun in an ironic way, which is there was a bad tackle by a Dundee United player on a Rangers player, and John Beaton didn't book him. And I think that we were all, I was going to say we were all surprised. We weren't. It was a stonewall booking. It's not a red card, but it's dangerous enough. Reckless, I think, is the term, isn't it, for those tackles? And what it does, it really got the crowd going. And, you know, the atmosphere was picked up, which really benefited Rangers. And we get the goal, and the place is rocking. And then not that long afterwards, we add a second. And again, excellent play from Nadiri. The first thing that really impressed me was the space he gets to take the throw in. And Jim Goodwin correctly lambasted his defence for it, because, you know, when it's a throw in and you've got 7 men in the box, for somebody to be able to go and find that much space in your box, take, you know, a touch and be able to go from there, and then they don't react to the second ball. All fair and all legit, but that space, that's what I talk about, somebody who's a natural at that, right? Because everything about it has to be right. You have to spot the space. You then have to time it, because if you go too early, a United player sees you and, you know, wanders over. It's common sense. And make the run at the right time, dart across. I loved it. Then eventually when it comes in, it's Dujon Sterling who gets his head to the ball and heads it. I didn't know if it was over the line, so I liked that Nadiri was there again just to make sure that it was going in regardless. Again, decent bit of striking play. But Dujon Sterling, I thought, was excellent. It's the first time he's really had a run in one position, really, but when he's played recently, it's been as a right back. I don't want to go down the if only he could stay fit route, but it's very difficult, because when you see him playing like he did at the weekend, where terrific, aggressive defending, right, winning his tackles, backing up his centre half, that recovery pace that he has, but then you see him steaming forward, his link up, particularly in the second half, where once Gassama came on with Gassama and Chermiti, was superb. Rangers' attack in the second half was so much better, and we will come to one of the reasons for that in a moment, but his all-round game is so strong, and I hate to if he can keep it fit, but it is true, because if he was playing, what an asset he would be.
Yeah, I think that was his best game I can remember for a while. At the weekend there, I think in attack as well. Obviously, he's got a good engine. We know it's maybe not his strong suit in terms of getting into the final third and crossing. Certainly not shooting, but I think his all-rounder play was excellent. I was happy to see him play yesterday just because of the makeup of the rest of the back three. It added a little bit more security. I don't think Tavernier playing obviously wants to get forward a little bit more. I'm not sure I would have been as keen with Suter, Giga and Magoma potentially sitting back and have Tavernier going yesterday, but with Sterling, you know, he's going to get back 8 or 9 times out of 10, so it kind of helps provide a little bit more cover to the changes in defence. So yeah, I was really happy with him. I thought he did well. Skov Olsen obviously puts the header in for Sterling to then flick it and in there as well, which was whether that's a tick in his box or not, he does send it back into the danger zone. But yeah, I don't think the two of them really had any issues working together. I think if anything, Scott Olsen needs to be doing more on his own individually rather than how he's working with a partner. But Stelling on his own, I thought was great. Yeah.
Well, on that, Scott Olsen, another very disappointing game, subbed at half-time, and to be honest, everyone in that ground knew he was getting subbed after about 25 minutes, and I think him included. The manager spoke about him, just encourage him to be a bit braver on the ball, because whether it is lack of confidence or not, you'd imagine that it is. He's obviously not in form either, which doesn't help, but there does seem a reluctance to take men on at the moment, whether or not he feels he's lost a half a yard or whatever and can't do it now. On Saturday, it was made worse by the fact that when he did stop and turn inside and play it backwards, he was giving the ball away a lot. The passes weren't accurate. But when Gassama came on, and I have moaned long and weary about Jaidi Gassama on the right on here. So fair, that is the best I've seen him on the right. It's the best I've seen him in months, full stop. But suddenly the link-up play was better. You had a winger who was taking him on and getting past him and putting balls across. And suddenly Rangers went from, in the first half, we got the 2 goals and that was great, but we hadn't created as many chances. At the start of the second half, though, when that change is made, Rangers are absolutely flying and we're making chance after chance. You felt we can go on here and score 4, 5, 6. It really did feel like that. Scott Olsen is kind of running out of time at the moment. And the thing is, I like Gassama as a sub because he has impact. So I'm not calling get him in the side, but it is becoming difficult to justify starting Scott Olsen given the level of performance that he puts in.
He sticks out like a sore thumb just now, is probably the way that I could. It's a bit of a backhanded compliment to everyone else, but because 8, 9, 10 of the players are genuinely playing pretty well when they start, and it's kind of consistent, certainly over the last few weeks. When someone comes in and isn't playing great or looks like he's not willing to press or get stuck in, he sticks out like a sore thumb. So the rest of the players can take a bit of praise on that, the level that they're setting. But equally, when you are signed as the difference maker and you're signed on what we assume is relatively big wages, to come in and be the difference maker, then you do need to get judged on that. The flip side of that, I think, for me, is if you look at the team overall, is we wanted to get more goals and assists into the team in January. We've done that, and we've done it kind of in the absence of Scott Olsen. So in a way, I'm not massively bothered overall. I know we can get caught up and fixated on what one player is doing and one player will make and break this, but when everything is trending upwards so much, I'm kind of not as bothered. But I agree, there's other players in there now that can that should be getting a bit of a run. Gassama, I'm the same as you. I didn't like it on the right, but in this game, I thought he just seemed a lot more up for it. I don't know if it's maybe just the confidence of getting his first international caps, and he's come off the bench a couple of times and done quite well. I'm not sure, but he looks to be in form and looks to be happy. He created a lot yesterday. The other day, and yeah, I thought he was really good. Moving forwards, who do I want to see start out there? I probably would like to give Ant-Man a start in the next couple of games. I think he's been maybe a little bit unlucky not to get a bit more game time. I know he's had injuries, but he went away with Finland and came back. I wouldn't mind seeing him getting a start at the weekend, and let Scott Olsen. He doesn't deserve to be starting at the minute. So there's a couple that are ahead of him. So I think that's fair in a team that's doing well. They do stick out when you're maybe thrown in less than stellar performances.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it is true. But Rangers at that point looked set for a straightforward win. But we do like to put us supporters through the mill, don't they? And they certainly managed that. Half time approaching, and there's a game management question here. Firstly, United break. I thought it at the time, and I think I haven't seen it back. Chukwueze needs to just haul him down, take the yellow. You know, you're a minute from half time. Just don't take the risk. But he doesn't. He lets him go. And then John Souttar is turned far too easily. He shows Fatu on the inside. I don't understand the thinking there, to be honest. I don't really understand the thinking. The jockeying thing that defenders do, I get it. I'm not stupid. I think that obviously they're like, well, if I dive into a tackle and he gets past me, then I'm completely out the game and he's free in on goal. You're absolutely right. But if you just jockey him and he still gets the shot away, what were you there for? You did not affect that goal in the slightest, and you chose not to. You chose to back off and back off and back off. But when you have done that, the absolute last thing you can then do is show him inside and give him the space to have a shot, which is what Suter does. Now, Suter has come in for a lot of criticism on here as well, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. The manager sort of alluded to not picking Manny Fernandez due to his international exertions, and I think also, Adam, that's probably why Ant-Man wasn't called upon at the weekend, because he'd been to New Zealand and back, which I think is ludicrous for a friendly, but anyway. And I think the manager did want to do that. And obviously, with Suter, he puts him in the team, makes him his captain. But a listener said to me, they said, well, you've never really taken to Suter, so you're a bit unfair. When you're talking about him, you're not really, neutral. And I thought, okay, well, maybe there's something in that, right? We all have our unconscious biases, so I don't want to reject that out of hand. But whether or not you are a massive fan or you don't rate him, I think one thing that is absolutely clear is that in the calendar year of 2026, for whatever reason, he has been shit out of form, like way off it. And it's not always just about the individual, although the individual, obviously makes mistakes and whatnot. But it's also about chemistry, isn't it? And it's about shape and fit and dynamics. I maintain I don't think the defence looks as confident, and the midfield looks as confident in what's behind them when he's there compared to Manny Fernandez. And lastly, leadership. The golden question, we could talk about it all the time. What is leadership? Is it a Richard Gough? Is it a Barry Ferguson? Is it a James Tavernier who leads by example, maybe more than shouting and bawling? Regardless of how you define it, I think leadership is one of those things that you know when you see it. And it's not age. Manny Fernandez is a leader in that team at 24. John Suter isn't at 30. That's just the reality to me, and it will never, ever change, because some people have it and some people don't. But right now, Suter being in the team, I think you only need to look at the defensive stats when he's in the side for goals conceded to when he isn't. And I'm not in any way knocking some of the qualities he does have, but right now he is performing very poorly, and it affects the rest of the defence.
Yeah, I couldn't agree anymore with all of that. I've never been a big Suter fan either. I think he's the poster boy for that lazy narrative of knows the league and is Scottish, therefore should be playing for Rangers. There are so many examples of that in the past that are now playing lower leagues and anywhere else that you would like, that it renders the argument a bit silly, but we still hear it every 6 months or so. When John Suter came in, he was one of the best players in the league outside of Rangers and Celtic, but as I keep saying, it is essentially a different sport. Playing for those teams, it doesn't really matter. Unless you have played for Rangers or Celtic, knowing the league is pretty much irrelevant. And if it wasn't, then there would be so many more examples of great players that have came to Rangers over the last 5-10 years, from your Dundees and your Dundee Uniteds and your Aberdeens, and done really well. The fact that there is barely a handful of them, I think, sort of proves that. But we're never going to get away from that. People's desire to have Scottish players in the team, I get it. I would like that too, but they have to be good enough. That's the main thing. It can't be Scottish first. It has to be good enough to play. And your point about leadership as well, yeah, I don't know how many times I've been on about that. We need to bring in good players that can play for Rangers, good players that fit the technical profile, fit the physical profile, fit the mental profile. Just because you are old or you are Scottish or you've played in a stadium in Scotland before doesn't mean that you've got leadership or you've got mentality. And I think your comparison is spot on. Manny Fernandez was playing non-league football 4 years ago and has risen quicker than a lot of people thought to get to Rangers in the first place, and then again to get to where he is just now with the international caps. That happens sometimes. That's why I never think any player is way off it or a complete lost cause, or I never think any team is so badly struggling that they need massive surgery, because players and teams can surprise you and things can change really quickly in football. And yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm going to lump Magoma into this as well, and it's maybe a little bit unfair, but I think that Suter and Magoma and moving Giga to left-sided centre-half as well, I think unbalanced things a little bit, as you would expect, because it becomes a little bit more cautious. You have to defend a little bit deeper anyway because Suter's playing and he's not got the same profile or recovery pace or physique as Fernandes. Magoma probably similar in terms of he's very different to Romans. He's maybe he got isolated a fair bit. They targeted him on that side with long balls. I thought he left Giga a little bit exposed at times, particularly in the first half. I thought Giga had a good game overall, but he was on his opposite side. And there was a few times where he was left one-on-one with a defender that you'd really be expecting your fullback to either win their header first of all or tuck in, or one of the centre mids to come and cover. All these things we talk about that we haven't spoke about for a couple of months, and a big part of that for me has been the form of Romans and Fernandes. They take all of these little mini moans out of the way because we don't concede goals from those opportunities, because they're good players who make tactics, they make roles, they make other teammates better. I don't think Magoma is a terrible player at all. I think he has been good to pretty good at some points, but I think it's quite clear you see the difference when Romans is playing and Fernandes is playing versus Magoma and Suter. And that is, if you want to take that as a slight against those players, then I can't really stop you, but I think it's more about how well the other two have done.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fernandes and Romans to me are two of our best players, two of our key players, and you're going to be weaker when they're not there. That's a fact.
It's just a fact.
Any team in the world loses two of their best players, then even teams with loads of money, the second guy to come in isn't as good as the first. That's what happens. But I do think that, as I say, if Suter was in the team and he was nearer his best, then I think there would still be a drop off, because I don't think he's as good as Fernandes. But I don't think the drop off would be as big. But he's not in form, and therefore the drop off is massive. Rangers needed to start second half quickly, though, Adam, and we did. The manager had brought on he'd brought on Chermiti as well. I mean, obviously Olsen was going off and Gassama come on, but he brought on Chermiti because Nadiri had picked up a knock, which we hope is minor, due to how well he was playing. And we had to start well. We did. The link up on the left between Chermiti and Gassama and Sterling was excellent. We were making loads of chances. We get the goal, the third goal. Absolutely crucial, and you think, right, that'll do us. And again, it's really good play on that right hand side. The ball eventually Dujon fires it across, and there's Tello Asgard, who recovered from a dreadful miss in the first half. The age-old Tello problem of wants a lot more time than he gets, but he responded well, gets the goal. And at that point, I was thinking we'd go on and score a few more, and we really, really should have. Now, Yusuf Chermiti, see, apart from putting the ball in the net, he was excellent. His hold-up play was superb. When the ball went to him, it stuck. And not only did it stick, he was then playing people in constantly. The right pass, choosing it all the time. Excellent striking display. Apart from putting the ball in the net, and unfortunately that apart is quite a big thing. Now, he misses a chance at 3-1 that absolutely kills the game, but he's one-on-one with the keeper. He's absolutely got to score. Dundee United then score one, and as we'll come to, might have got an equaliser. That could have been absolutely pivotal. I don't know what you do, because these are chances that any number 9 has got to be putting away.
Yeah, no, I agree with that last statement. But again, maybe similar to the Scott Olsen debate, maybe it's maybe more apparent with Chermiti, because his all-round game I thought was terrific yesterday. Really, really good in terms of holding up, linking play, creating space. I think you're spot on that first. One thing I want to mention first of all, actually, is that thing that sort of disappeared from us. I think is we get a bit of a setback, and over the last couple of years we went on a bit of a huff with ourselves, and there's been 10-15 minutes where we've sort of not really done very much. I'm really pleased that we haven't done that in these last two games, where we've had a bit of a setback. It's went to 2-1 in both games, and we've just went up the park and started playing our game again and scored within 5-10 minutes, I think. On those, obviously that helps to get the goal that early, but I think that probably contributes to why I'm not really too concerned about some of those mistakes. But to deviate back to Chermiti, I thought he was really, really good apart from that. Yeah, and I thought he was really good apart from the scoring. But again, when you look at the wider piece over the last 10 games or so, I think Rangers are not far off scoring three goals a game. So we're talking about the number 9. And again, the number 9 should be getting 25-30 goals a season. But if he is contributing and if he is able to bring teammates into play and set up goals, maybe not directly, but set up goals for others by getting the ball up the pitch, by laying it off, by occupying defenders, then I'm kind of okay with it. If the goals dry up and your number 9 is still missing the only two chances that you get in a game, then 100%, similar to last year with Dessers, I think that needs to be a bit of a focus. But if we're creating lots and lots of chances and other players are scoring enough goals, and let's be honest, 3 goals a game, sometimes 4 in the last few weeks is good. That is okay. So if that continues and he's not scoring as much, I'm kind of less critical about it because of his all round play. I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, definitely. I mean, before when he just wasn't contributing at all. That was the thing. He did, and he helped. Not alone, but he helped change the game in a positive way, along with Gassama in the second half. And Rangers' attacking was far better, far more coherent. So he does get praise, but equally, that could have been an absolutely enormous moment, and it's just something he needs to get better at. I mean, it really is that simple. I see this is not just him, by the way. It's a modern striking thing where I really wish coaches could tell them, you're allowed, by the way, to pick a corner. You don't always have to try and slide it under or through the goalkeeper.
No.
It is occasionally quite acceptable to just go, actually, I'm going to put this into the right-hand corner, or I'm going to do what we'll come to with the fourth, Miovski. I'm going to give him the eyes and put it in the other corner. I just think that there's this uniformity of finishing, which is aim for between the goalkeeper's legs. Right, and they are told that. That's not controversial. That is something that they work on. It's aim for between the goalkeeper's legs. I just think mixing it up is not a terrible thing to do, especially when you've had 2 chances and you've hit the goalkeeper both times. Maybe try something different the third.
No, I totally agree with that. Do we again? I don't necessarily think this, but devil's advocate. Do we think we really appreciate how young he is as well? Like, he's a 21-year-old striker. We've watched enough football to know that they peak later.
Yeah, 100%. But also he's young in miles on the clock
as well. Yeah, because he's loads of injuries as well. So
yeah, you can be 21 and have played 150 games. Like Lamine Yamal is 17, but he's 18 now, but he's experienced, right? I mean, he is. He's played well over 100 games for Barcelona. He's played umpteen games for Spain. So he's an experienced footballer. He's seen a lot within the game. To me, he hasn't. It's really his first season playing football, and he is getting better. There's no doubt about it. But that's the next thing.
The shot selection thing, it is just like it's like if I somehow magically managed to find myself in the centre of the park, it kind of shoots sometimes like I would. I said the other day, half jokingly, if you could just when he swings his leg back, if you could teleport Miovski right in to shoot for him, I would choose it every time. His all-round game is not up to the same level, but it's funny how many of those players we get. We seem to have bought half a profile for a long time. But with Chermiti, I think,
it's because the full profile. It's because the full profile, unfortunately, goes for a lot of money. Yeah, but Rangers, we did concede the second, and at that time was a little bit of panic because, again, it's a bit of naivety for me, Adam. It's not stopping at the source, and then being caught in a position where Dundee United can get that 2-on-1 break. When you're 3-1 up, you can't do it. There's a bit of switching off going on, and it's funny because I felt previously this season Rangers would go a goal up and switch off. It was almost like, well done us. Now they're getting better at it. They at least wait till they're 2 up before they do it. So it is getting better. If they could then wait till they're 3 up, I think we've cracked it. But again, that was a test. That was a test at that point because I thought we did look a wee bit nervy in defence, a couple of balls that came out of the box, and particularly one where Iovo gets his head on it, and thankfully for us, it clips the outside of the post. Rangers then immediately break with the ball, and it ends with Bojan Miovski with a lovely finish. And as I say, this was... to your point about, just somebody that's better shot selection. You see where he is. He looks up. He completely dummies the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper thinks he's going for the near corner, and instead he just then whips it back into the far corner. It's a terrific bit of striking play. But that is the sliding doors moment. if that header goes in, we're having a completely different conversation today. The mood among the Rangers supporters is completely different today. Who knows? Maybe Hearts don't drop points the following day. And again, this is something that you've spoken about. You've spoken about it on today's show. We have a tendency when things like that happen to our rivals to go, see, that's the kind of thing they do. They find a way to win. When we do it, I don't think we give ourselves quite the same praise for it.
We definitely don't. I've been sort of tongue in cheek going on about how it was great mentality to win 1-0 at St Mirren and then to win last week and to win this week. But I do genuinely believe it. Nobody talks about how good Rangers' mentality is when they win games because it's just par. It's just expected that we should be doing that. And that is quite unrealistic, I think, anyway. But if Rangers would have been slaughtered for not going top of the league on Saturday, then they have to be praised for their mentality in doing so, particularly as you've just outlined there. We had 2 setbacks, very nearly a third setback, and we responded really, really well to those to go up the park and score. I don't think that's reaching at all. I think that it should work both ways. You should be able to criticise if things fail, but you just know the next points that are dropped, it'll be Rangers' mentality is terrible, they're all weak, they're all losers, and we do tend to ignore the points where you say, well, actually, that does take a bit of balls to step up and go top of the table when they're playing tomorrow, and that does put a bit of a marker down. And we've had these setbacks, and we've got the park and score. Asgard having a pretty ropey afternoon, let's be honest, before his goal to beat before the first goal to beat a couple of men and force the goalkeeper to make a mistake. I think all of these things point to positive mentality, and you can. This is why I hate the binary nature of the mentality debate, because you can point to so many different factors, positive and negative, that make up a season. You outlined it quite nicely with the whole Suter mentality point earlier on as well. I think the team deserve a lot of praise, and I have to be honest, I think they probably deserve more praise than they're getting at the minute. It's all a little bit, oh, it's tense, and oh, I'm not sure, oh yeah, we were good, but there's a bogeyman round the corner. I think, as I keep saying, Rangers are playing well, Rangers are scoring the most goals, Rangers are picking up the most points. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen, but I think they probably deserve quite a lot of praise for that.
Yeah, and look, I'm sorry that we're not coming to a firm overall conclusion on who's going to win the title. I really hope it wasn't the prospect of a firm overall conclusion on who's going to win the title that attracted you to listen to the show today. But the truth is that we don't know, but you can only go on what we're witnessing. Although I will not in any way attempt to be hypocritical here, Adam. If the next time Rangers drop points, I might well be saying mentality. You know, just like,
me too, probably.
But yeah. So I do, though. To your point, then I have to go the other way when they do hold it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I can do that, and it will be a valid point. But I then need to, on the weeks where they did shoot, and they did, and look, they came out on the right side, and they've come out now with 2 big wins, 8 goals, 8 different scorers, interestingly, which is clearly not a bad thing. And then you can chuck to a Romans goal in it at St Mirren as well. And it's now just a case of, for me anyway, people are talking about, you know, the split and whatnot, and obviously we'll discuss it when the fixtures are released. But I'm really genuinely not looking ahead of Falkirk at the moment, because that to me is the be all and end all. You win that, great. You then roll on. It's like building blocks, isn't it? You can't, you know, jump up a floor if you've not built the one before it. So for me, that's the key thing. They're a good side. I hope we don't build it into something that it isn't. They're a good side. They've drawn twice with Rangers this season, but we should be beating them. I don't think that there's anything wrong in saying that. I think the Rangers are clearly the favourites. We should have more than enough to go and take care of them. If the application and performance is right, we will. So it's now, as I say, for me, focusing in on that. And to your point there about, you know, the mentality. I mean, I saw yesterday some people were saying, I can't decide if Hearts dropping point is a good thing or a bad thing for us. And I'm like, what?
I know.
Like,
I mean, that was fine in like January, but we're past that a little bit, yeah.
Well, it's just a team who were ahead of you has dropped points to bring you a bit closer. In no planet can that be considered a bad thing. That's exactly what you want. Yeah, great if Celtic had dropped points as well, but they didn't. Hopefully they will in the upcoming games. But you know, clearly it's good if Hearts drop, and also then the confidence factor and whatnot. But again, I go back to the thing that makes this so intriguing is that all three teams have got it in their own hands. Nobody needs favours, and that I think is almost unique, really, in Scottish football history. As you said at the start, to have three teams who are in that situation, none of them who are going, right, well, we need them to drop points in that. No, all three, no. You win your 6 matches, you're the champions.
Yeah, and the only thing I will finish on is if Rangers have the same results as they have in the last 5 games, the last 10 games, the last 15 games, the last 20 games, the last 25 games, the last 30 games over the next 6 games, then they will win the league. That's as close as I'll get to say it. That is the evidence that is there. Things can change really, really quickly, but like you said, everybody has it in their own hands. And for once, the split might actually be something that could be quite valuable, because not only is it in everyone's own hands, but everybody plays each other again, and they play teams round about them, and each other are playing each other as well. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how it ends up.
Yep, yeah, Adam is absolutely right there, folks. Right then, that will do us for this week here on Heart and Hand. As always, we ask you to check out our sponsors, Rangers Youth Development Company. If you go to RYDC, that's rydc.co.uk, you can sign up. You're benefiting the club when you do it. And all monies, and I do mean all monies raised or all profits raised, do go to the Youth Development at Rangers, bringing through the future superstars. So fantastic to be a part of that. We're very proud to be a part of it. We would also ask you to go and sign up for our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Heart and Hand, where you'll get up to 5 shows every single day on all things Rangers and some other stuff as well. If you love football, it's very much the place to be. My thanks to our producers, Mike Lee and Paul Miles, and my thanks to the splendid Adam Thornton. Adam, I thoroughly enjoyed that discussion, my friend.
Thank you, me too.
And I'll see you on Wednesday. We're going to a gig. So
we are, yes. A nice little, I was going to say a nice midweek without Rangers. I'd rather Rangers were playing, but I'm not hating it, I have to say.
I'd rather Rangers were playing, but I remember one time, folks, Adam and I, thanks to a listener who was the tour manager for the Charlatans, invited us to a gig that the Charlatans were playing with James at the Hydro. Backstage passes, right? Backstage passes, AAA, best seats in the house. And we had to leave before the show started because Rangers were playing Aberdeen at Ibrox that night. And what happened, Adam?
It was the cup, wasn't it? Was it the cup?
We lost 1-0. It was the league game. It was the season that they beat us. Yeah, it was Gerrard's first season. But I'm glad there's no clash this week, because Rangers would win, and then if they didn't win, you and I'd be going, should have won. It didn't. So we don't need to worry about that. But listen, folks, it's been an absolute pleasure. We hope you enjoyed it too. We'll be back next week. Cammy will be here before then, though, on Heart and Hand Extra, and he'll preview the aforementioned Falkirk game. So until then, folks, have a splendid week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.